because the situation is not yet okay. So we should not sit anyhow with it. So I think Tom should also not be near me now here. We should try to really be sensitive because the virus is still within the community here. So I would like to thank you very, very much for your coming. My name is Martin Chiza. I'm the Executive Director of the National Children Authority. Allow me to thank you very much for your positive response when we effected the invitations. I see really the capacity is maximum, so this is to me a signal of commitment in handling issues pertaining to children. Allow me also on behalf of the National Children Authority
Children and the street.
at this juncture I want to acknowledge and recognize the following. I might not exhaust the list, but allow me to cite the following. The Executive Director, UCRNN, National Radio Network.
No, somewhere.
We've worked with you for some time, but of late I've been trying to press for you still. It's good we are again together. SASCO, that is Save Street Children Uganda. We appreciate your coming and the partnership. KCCA here represented. We thank you very much for making it. Minister of Gender, of course, our mother ministry here represented. Welcome, thank you very much. The police, allow me to pick out the name of Andy Akide. Thank you for being very active in this area on child protection, children issues. I think I will not go beyond that because I was like, I've given you good promotion on that. That one I will not say. Okay, then we have Nira. I'm told. Nira? Do you have Nira here? Not yet around. The private sector, we have a colleague here, John. He is from the private sector and very, very active in issues pertaining to, stability and having, that environment that is really of child friendly. Why do I say this? As we get towards the discussions, you maybe raise some issues that we need to work together. The point here is that we are looking at both private and public sector working together in terms of promoting networking, coordination, so that at the end of that day, children get the best services, irrespective of any category. Dwelling places, Jessica and the new team, we appreciate your coming and the continued collaboration that we really have with you. I've tried to. The media, you are, of course, our first estate in that hierarchy, so there's no shortcut. Definitely, we can't know, the public out there can't know what is taking place. So, we thank you very much for your active participation in this. And our children, I'm happy, actually, from the illustration that we've made here. One took us in a prayer, very confident. So that means that's an indicator that the rehabilitation works out. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we want to work together and ensure that children are withdrawn and integrated into the communities, into their families, and they live that very normal life. So there is no shortcut. We have to ensure that we work together, both private, public, in ensuring that children, because the streets will never be the best environment for children. Not so. We all know this. So we must work together and get that responsibility of ensuring that we have the children back to where they have demands that friendly space. It's very, very key. So members, I captured some few messages from where I noticed that child participation is very, very important and critical in having nurturing children and ensuring that they all take a pace that is leading towards the right direction. So messages like one is looking at becoming a doctor. The other one talked of a child-friendly environment, education. So children really have the dream. We just need to back them up and ensure that they lead a very successful life. The other message I schools not schools. So education is prime. Within the rehabilitation process, we have to ensure that children really get access to education. Short of that, we shall not be doing much. But allow me also to briefly tell you a bit of what government is doing.
Yes, US.
And just slightly on what as we all are aware in the National Children Authority is mandated to monitor compliance with standards of children. So ours is oversight, coordination, monitoring, evaluating, and then ensuring that we have child-friendly legislation. But we also work with partners. We can't do it alone, both the private and public sector, in ensuring that at the end of the day, children get the best services. So we have embarked on a nationwide campaign sensitizing communities. We're going down into the communities, targeting parents, parish chiefs, that type of leadership down. Then the sub-county chiefs with professionals on our side, talking to them on the essence of their roles and responsibilities. Because we cannot really leave a child go astray. So we are telling parents that according to the overarching law, the constitution, if you looked at Article 17, it talks of the responsibilities of a citizen. And then the parent also, when you look even at the National the Children Act, all these provisions are there. Are we saying we are not implementing them enough? So the appeal should be to everyone out there that we need to enforce and implement these laws. We have them in place. So when we see issues like not really being coming forth with, we need to ensure that we take action and review, so to say, our steps and take action. I want to again, through Zainab, convey our appreciation, and of course with the team. You know, we have that support. You are aware of the National Steering Committee on Child Labour? Where we also have the regular withdrawal and ensuring children are integrated into community. This must will continue. But all this is done in good faith to ensure that the child is given the best place in society. That's why I kept this. The other point, remember, I don't want to look at them and so that you say ED your time. I just want to look at the audience this side. Ladies and gentlemen, government, we shall be listening briefly maybe on some progress on what the government is doing through Ismail Kalanda, Mr. Ismail Kalanda. But allow me, as Damon said, we have what we call here in place a baby who is about I think 5 months now. This is the National Child Policy 2020. I thought it was a club. This is one of the big achievements by government that has been in place. It's a comprehensive policy that will addresses child well-being. Herein, it has strategies, actions, and then objectives as to why it's in place. Way back, we had the OVC policy. I think all of us knew that, right? 2004. But after wide consultation, the government came out the National Child Policy. We are calling this one our baby. The baby was launched last year in October 13th at State House. And I had the privilege to be part of the witnesses. The First Lady, who is the Minister of Education and Sports, launched this. You may wonder that why the Minister of Education, not maybe Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development. And in the presence, of course, the Minister was there of Gender. But this is a multi-sectoral framework that calls upon every other sector to ensure that you contribute to it. In the private sector, children, everybody is cited here. And one of the key areas here is systems strengthening. With the systems strengthening, the point is that we need to work together very closely and very accurately in ensuring that we promote child well-being. And this policy has it matches with its implementation plan. The implementation plan is 5 years implementation plan. And when you look at the content, I tried to very quickly skim through. One of the strategies of the implementation plan talks of one of the action points to take up the actions is promote a child-friendly and gender-sensitive justice system for child victims and witnesses
I'm
and
still looking
children
for the other
involved
plug
in
that I
the
used
process
last
of
time.
life. Strengthening networking and coordination across all sectors and government and non-governmental actors to foster commitment towards child protection. In fact, the message here, members, is that this is a reference point for every other actor. If you are coming up maybe with a proposal or in your respective interventions and you don't cite the policy, the national child policy, you might be missing a very big important point. So this one is a must do for everybody in promoting child well-being. So as Damon said, the ministry established an interministerial coordination committee on child well-being. It's an interministerial steering committee on child well-being. So that membership has, of course, sector ministries, line ministries, the private sector is represented there, UN agencies represented there, cultural leaders represented there, faith-based civil society are all represented on that interministerial. So wherever we are, there is an ongoing dissemination of this policy. The National Children's Authority co-chairs with the Ministry of Gender. So we've been covering different regions in the country, and one because every district is covered by taking them through the importance of the national child policy. And actually in Africa, we are the first one in Uganda. Yeah, I want to give it to your life. You clap for me. The only other framework that we have is the East African Community child policy. For the East African region. But as the government of Uganda, we take lead. So the appeal here is that let us embrace this. Back now to home again with children in this situation. I'm happy that the theme, access services, is very timely. So this should be a day for us to take stock. How do we go forward? How do we ensure that children, we know we are aware of the push and pull factor. How do we address these issues together? So I would like to take this opportunity to once again thank all of you, all of us, for the commitment we are doing in ensuring that we promote child welfare. We shall really be very, very, very grateful that having children off the streets and being rehabilitated into responsible citizens, so that they are a workforce, of development. You are aware of the national development NDP human capital development. If we don't really look into these issues, we shall be doing a disservice to them. And there have been also children. Wherever we go, we say children have responsibility. You hear? You have responsibility. Yes. Children of so that really you also contribute to that good goal that we are also all aiming at. As you have your rights, very good. Remember that you also have to take up. These are obligations. They are stated in the law. So it's not my making as much. So once again, I want to thank you very, very much for turning up. I want also to assure you that all media is in good faith to promote students. So please, as you discuss issues, let's have constructive ideas that will make us come from point X to the next point. So that at the end of the day, we score high in supporting children and ensuring that this theme this year around access to services is brought on board. With those very few words, allow me once again on behalf of the National Student Authority to say asante sana, karibuni.
Please realize that all of us are being COVID sensitive, and also remember to be COVID sensitive. Even you who are online, please be sensitive. And after you touch your computer, sanitize again. You don't know who has touched it. Yeah, let's all be very sensitive. Ladies and gentlemen, before I invite us to watch a video, allow me let me set the atmosphere for you. In 2018, Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development states in our country, Uganda, that survey brought out a lot of issues. But let me give you one of the key issues that I took away personally, and I've remembered 3 years down the road. That survey brought to our attention that violence against children is nowadays heaviest at home. In 2018, violence against children survey showed that the place where children are most violated is not schools, it is not even on the streets, it is not even in I don't know, hospitals, where we're always saying the nurses are what, it is not anywhere else. But the place where children are most violated from is in their homes. By the time we see there are thousands of children that are living and working on the streets, they have not out of their mind, they have not lost their mind and decided to leave home and resort to the streets. My previous job exposed me to children who are on the streets. And the common thing the children on the streets will always tell you is that something pushed them to end up on the street. Very few are just misguided children. But majority, let me put it this way, for every 5 children we would speak to, 4.5 children would give you a reason of domestic violence, would give you a reason of looking for school fees, and would give you a reason on looking for food to survive. By the time the children decide to leave their homes and get to the streets, something has pushed them. And that is what they were saying on the streets. The national survey comes out and says the homes are the most unsafe place. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we don't know the total number of children who are living on the streets in our country. We don't. Do we? We don't. We don't have a number. In fact, UNICEF estimates for the last how many years, like 20 years now, estimates and still estimates that. But our exposure through the member organizations has brought to light that there are more than 30,000 children living and working on the streets And when we talk about children living and working on the streets, some of us are thinking of only those who are permanently living on the streets. No, 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 no. For us, we also look at those ones, and that is why even the terminology keeps on changing. We don't call them children on the streets. That one Zaina will kick you. She tells you that not, the streets have never given child to the streets. I mean, the streets have never given birth to a child, and that is why even a child should not be on the streets. That is our mama profession who always says that. And likewise, I agree with her. The children who are on the streets, more than 80% of them have a family they belong to. But circumstances have pushed them to the streets. I was saying UNICEF estimates that there are 10,000 children living on the streets. Our member organizations have carried out their own simple surveys and have found out that there are more than 30,000 children living on the streets. That there are children who are living on the streets all over Kampala, all over Barara, all over Kabale, Fort Poto, Iganga, Jinja. Let me put it this way. All the major towns have children living on the streets. If we're to talk about the circumstances in Lira, it is worrying. Lira is about to overtake Kampala by now in numbers. It is. It is. Gulu, we know that they have gotten a lot of attention because of the previous war. But we still have many of those children who are on the streets, who have not yet found their families, who have not yet resorted back to their families. When we talk about children on the streets, we have two categories. We have those who are permanently on the streets, they have left their families and they sleep and work on the streets. But we also have those who have families and are sent by their families to go to the streets to do two things. One, to beg, or two, to sell. Sorry, there are three. Or three, to steal. Afande, am I deceiving? There are families that are using their children, and that is where Ministry of Labour comes into play. There are families that are using their children as a source of income, rather than their children being only 35. I've said there are over 35,000 children living and working on the streets. And ladies and gentlemen, these over 35,000 children are not planned for under our census because they are never counted. They are not planned for under our NDP3 because their views and issues have not been collected enough to guide in that area. And so at an international level, under Consortium for Street Children based in the UK, a general comment to the United Nations was made by the United Nations Committee on the Rights and Welfare on the Rights of Children. It's not welfare. It's UNCRC. A general comment was made that the children who are on the streets need to also be prioritized by government. And as a result of that, every 12th of April, every 12th of April, right from 2006, am I right? Is it 6 or 4? 2006, 12th of April has been marked as a day for us to remember and recognize that there are a certain category of children that are usually forgotten and need to be planned for and needs to be engaged. These children count too. And today specifically, Mr. Chairman, today specifically, the theme across the whole world, this 12th of April 2021, is access to services. Why? The children will tell you themselves as you watch this video. Do they actually access the services like any other child? Your child, my child. We as children accessed when we were children. Video team, please give us the clip. have to add volume for us who are here.
Amanya gange nze Kavin. Nali nonya sente za kusoma naye abazadde bange tibalina sente za kusoma okuntwala kusomera nange ningama kangende mu kibuga ngende nyenye nfuna nange nza funa sente zokola ki zokwesomesa naye njaga ng'okusuubula ebintu kutunda bintu naye nabifuna nitandika kubitunda bizinesi yange nemala negwa nali ntunda masiki esente nzewa nizibula sente abayali nibangu sente zange nibakola ki nibazibba nyebasi nze abaana fiti bankuba butuuka ekiro nibatujjako byakwebaka itumugamba leeta byaffe n'atukuba ntusula mu mpewo nze nandibadde kwetaaga kusoma kufuna sente okuzimba eka omuka ndebeki bakola ki batunguke abagaga obworo babulugemu nze nsaba gavumenti enyambeko ekintu kimu njagala okusoma n'okukola kunoonya sente mbesaba owaffe
abasirikale kati ngaabo bankubako nemala wiiki emu nga simanyi nti wabweru bwebafaanana life naye bwetyo era bwetyo bwentambuzaawo obulamu bwange oluusi olidde oluusi tolidde oluusi okuza akantu ko bakatutte kigamba obulamu bwakujingirira tosobola malako
abaana basinga bayinza olwala ng'ate abakulu tebaliiwo sente nga naye mwenyini talinaamu mukoka sente kyaba batuyambako abakiriko batufunira ebipapula nga kyo kitwala mu ddwaliro nakiwaayo nga tebakusaba sente.
Yenze Ramanzani taata ne maama tebaagala nsome kati nze nange neŋŋamba lwaki tebaagala nsome ate nga sente weeziri nga n'amasomero bagamanyi nange nenvaayo nenjija ku bbala okunoonya ku sente. Nze mbadde mulwadde era leero weninga atereddemu ate bwe ngenda ku poliisi neŋŋamba nanzoleeyeza ku poliisi bakusamba busambi kati mwana n'obiriyo liko byenjagala gavumenti enkolere andiyagala okufunawo embeera nensoma nga n'ekyokutegala nemira nange nembeerako ng'omuntu.
Amanya gange nzerega esitudi si nnungi nange ndayamu si nnungi kyonga nze njagala soma saagala kubeera ku street nze njagala nsome saagala kubeeka.
Amanya gange nze Kevin nviira Kyebando bangube waka nange nenjija ku street nze kyenjagala gavumenti etuyambe badde njagala enyambe nzizeyo enjigirize mu byemikono ndenkanike emmotoka.
Amanya agange nze Swaburu mbeera gye tubeeramu ku siti tetuyisa bulungi ekyokulya kintawaanya ekyokunywa kintawaanya aw'okusula nsula mu kadeeya nsula ku mbalaza z'abantu omuntu ali eyo ng'olaba osobola otuyamba gavumenti kyenjagala ennyambe chansi gyempira njagala kusoma njagala okusoma okwo nkwagalira ddala njagala nnyo ekitiibwa ekintu kye bayita obwalooya mbwagala nnyo
naye kati nga nze kyensaba nsaba gavumenti ennyambe mbeerezeemu n'emisomo gyange batujje ku street kale batutwaleko ku zi homes tubeere ku homes nga gye tubeera gye tusomera ng'abaana abalala.
Amanya gange nze Davis nga nyina emyaka 16 abaana b'okungulu balina obuzibu lw'obutafuna bwe basula nga bano abasula ku mbalaza z'okumakubo nga mu bibuga poliisi ejja nerowoozo be babbi be batemula abantu be banyakula ku mantu amasimu naye nga bambi nabo baba banoonya we basula poliisi yo weva eri ebakwata bukwasi baba tebalina musango. So nze nsaba gavumenti mutuyambe mukolagane n'ebitongole ebikwataganya ku baana abaana bali ku nguudo mubafunire ew'okusula, ebyokulya, okwambala, ebyobujjanjabi, byonna byonna.
I want the government to take me back to school. Like I bless our president take us to school. We start schooling because from the street, not like for the street. Like for me, I don't like a street, but for me, I like to go back to school.
Obulamu era bubi tulina bwetaavu bumala ng'eddagala, emmere, ew'okusula, ebyo ne poliisi ejja netukwata ate nga tetulina batujjawo naye nga tuba tetulina musango gwe tukoze. Nsula wano ku street kuba tugenda ne tugiragayo batujjanjaba bujjanjabi.
Many children who live and work on the streets can't access education because they are poor. Their parents cannot afford to pay for school fees, and many times they are forced to work to earn a living. My request to the government is that education is made free to all children without discrimination. Living on the street should not be a barrier to accessing education.
Not like for the street. Like for me, I don't like a street, but for me, I like to go back to school.
Obulamu era bubi tulina bwetaavu bumala ng'eddagala, emmere, ew'okusula, ebyo ne poliisi ejja netukwata ate nga tetulina batujjawo naye nga tuba tetulina musango gwe tukoze. Nsula wano ku street kuba sina wakusula. Kimanya njagala atulina nga tuba tugenda mu ddwaliro nga tugenda ne tugiragayo batujjanjaba bujjanjabi.
Many children who live and work on the streets can't afford to pay for school fees, and many times they are forced to work to earn a living. My request to the government is that education is made free to all children without discrimination. Living on the street should not be a barrier to accessing education.
Yes.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen,
ladies and gentlemen, you have seen education,
Protection.
health,
Protection.
and all these are the basic needs that a child needs to have, isn't it? Have you heard any of them saying government drugs in Jakarta? And yet they have been categorized as children who are gone wasted on drugs, isn't it? But all the children you've had them are asking for access to education, health, education. And the lucky thing that I want to ask you, have you had any of them asking for access to home?
Yes.
To their homes?
No.
Yeah?
No.
Did you hear any of them? To their homes, no, they asked to a place where they could have shelter, but they didn't want to go home. That always raises a question for me. Where did we go wrong? Where did we go wrong with homes? That always raises the question for me. But let me stop getting annoyed. At this, I want to bring to you children who are under rehabilitation, and then we have these two who are representing all the others who are on the streets. Allow me, and I want you to welcome our guests of honor, because these are the reasons we're here today. Gift Asingwe,
Gabriel Abomujuni, Mukisa Eddie, Timbe Owen, Nsubuga Swabul, Senyonjo Adam. Please come and give us your letter and read your letter very clearly to the rest, and Owen is going to read it on behalf of all these children. Please, let us make them feel warmly welcomed and comforted. Now, I think you're going to have to come and stand this side. Michael, are you in a mic? Okay, all cameras here. Listen to the word from the children, and after that, I will ask you to hand over your letter to the NCA Executive Director to deliver it for you to the Minister.
Good afternoon to you all. I'm Tim Owen on behalf of all islands. It was written on the 9th of April 2021, and it was written to Florence Nachuala Chilindi, the Minister of Children's Affairs. It says, "Dear Madam, we are writing to you because 12th April is the International Street Children's Day. After having left home for some secret or non-secret reasons, such as domestic violence at home, we speak to native children find it so difficult. These are some of the problems we face on the streets and perhaps possible solutions to some of them. First and foremost, we face a challenge of prolonged hunger or food shortage, and hence being forced into eating leftovers in rubbish pits, or else we have to walk long distances to find what to eat through collecting plastic bottles, scrap, boxes, and even washing people's utensils in restaurants to earn a living. Secondly, we face a problem of being arrested most of the time simply because of having no proper clothes to code. Because of our physical appearance, of having no proper clothing, we are chased off the streets, leaving us in trenches, sewage pipes, and also jumping into people's faces to ask to seek refuge from the wrath police officers close to us, thereby causing us more trouble of being beaten, fired, or sacrificed since there is nobody to be there for us. And this happened more during the past 12 months. We also face a problem of harsh weather conditions, which make our causes to us, like malaria, typhoid, and legumes and ligaments like us. We also have a problem of segregation and mistrust for most people, since they feel that most children are kids of due to most of these problems, most of us even end up taking drugs and alcohol, sometimes getting addicted. Our wish is to get education that we can be able to exploit our talents and even to become responsible people like lawyers, pilots, teachers, actors, artists, traders, and many more in the future, because we know and believe we have the potential and capacity to do it. We also request that the government can set up a place for us currently to get something to eat, seek medical care from, and even a place to sleep during the day. All in all, we need a place for access. Request that the selling of drugs and alcohol to children should be banned because they are of great impact to children listening in the streets. Lastly, but not the least, we ask that the government can provide us national identity cards and other children into consideration to us faithfully, to children in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, if you're going to clap, you clap. Don't pretend like you're clapping. You will really clap. Okay, so I'm going to request. I wanted you to show people the way you've decorated your letter. Just put it up so that people see. Just the letter itself. And I'm going to ask the NCA Executive Director to come this side, please, and receive this letter to the Honorable Minister on and help the children deliver this letter. And Owen will hand it over to you on behalf of all these children. I want you to open and show them, because I want the media people to see, and also those online, for them to see the colorful handover. The letter is from children. Please see the handwriting is not an adult, it's for a child. And you can now hand it over to the NCA Executive Director to deliver it for you to the Minister. I don't know if you want to say anything to them directly.
Definitely, the issues raised here have been taken not home, and I must say that if we go to the BFCD area that you want, I will hand it over to the Minister, and I feel that also I think that also members here present would raise every issues, maybe not particularly getting to this is the issue for the Minister, but it will be an opportunity when the time comes to this, we could also raise issues and we shall back the children in the country. We have had people that they want a home. They don't want to sleep. You don't tell the street? No, they said no. So I think this is very good, and this is a government.
Let's appreciate our birthdays, other names. Gabriel, Gifts. Sorry for those who are online. We are seeing your messages. Please continue to give your contributions online. We'll be able to share them. We are seeing that you're not hearing well, and our technical team is working on that to ensure that you can hear us clearer. But members, I don't know if you can see very well, but let me point, you may not be able to see, but there is a group here hosted by a gentleman called David. Can we show that one? Can we pin them?
80.
Yes. Can you see? There are children also who on the street who are in their area. Director. The message is going also directly to those who are on the street. Again, COVID, we can't bring everyone here, but we're trying our level best. And I'll ask my team here, the media team, to continue pinning where we have children so that we can show where the children who are listening in at the different places. Amanda, wave to us. We are seeing you. Wave to us. Wave to us. Can you see us? Those who are David, Africa. Can you wave to us? Okay, maybe they have not heard. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item. And I want to welcome the Executive Director Executive Director, Project Director, something Director of Crane. Because I'm saying so because our title changes every year. To share with us now something from the CSOs in 5 minutes.
Thank you. I know that we are here on at the invitation of the ANC, and I'm glad to see that we are now live and working. So all protocol observed. I do recognize that the National Children's Authority is now live. Because when it was authorized in 2016, it has been incoming. And we can see that now they are starting to work. And we hope that you can forward our letter to Ministry of Gender, the Minister, and all the people that it needs to go to so that what we are asking for can be realized. So as I said, all of protocol observed, and I'll go ahead and read the letter herein. Allegedly, there are 800 homeless people in Uganda, in major towns who mirror the country's population in street situations. These are both adults and children. This has been increased by COVID-19 pandemic that is disappropriately affecting all children in child street situations. We refer to children on the street a lot of times, and we have said that the streets do not have children. So we would rather call them children in street situations or children connected to the street, because they are from somewhere and they come on the street. They are not street children. The street is not a human being who gives birth to children. So according to UNICEF, Uganda experienced 70% increase in children living on the streets. And this is an old statistic. As we said, we don't have parents affected in different towns. There is a corridor that comes from Karamoja that is in Mbale, Soroti, Mbale, Tororo, Iganga, Jinja, Lukono, Kampala. And that has been with children, especially from Karamoja. But a lot of children in the street are not only Karamoja. We do know that a lot of notice has been taken of children from Karamoja, but we have many children who come from a double orphanage. That is by SASCO's report. Many children in street situations were produced by displaced people and those who have lost a sense of social belonging. Homeless groups include youths who sleep on the street and substandard informal settlements. They lack many essential components with limited access to social services. This is resulting from push and pull factors that bring children on the street. The push, that is from the homes where they belong. They're either orphaned and therefore they don't belong to anybody. Somebody says as long as they're in their teens, they should go look after themselves, and so the children run on the street. But there's also a lot of violence that was exacerbated by COVID-19 lockdown, and children flock to the streets. There's a lot of family breakdowns, there's a forced peer pressure, there's poverty. And so this all brings the children to the streets. And since there is no strict attendance in school, then children don't run away from school as well. If they can go, they run away from school. In most cases, they'll be asked to go and either earn their because they're in their teens. So the pull factors are the fact that some children get money off the street. Of course, there is no authority telling you bathe and sleep here and do that, so that pulls them to the street. They also think that on the street they can be able to be given food, but they find that they have challenges when they reach the streets. for them when they come to the street. They are generally poor, they experience deep privation, they are excluded in many ways. If you see a street child, you kind of pass the other way, or you hold your purse tighter, or you make sure your phone is in your pocket properly because you think they are going to snatch it. And therefore they are excluded, they are not listened to. They have a lot of things that bottleneck their rights, and they cannot get psychosocial, intellectual, physical development in the right way because they don't have shelter, they don't have food, they don't have medical care. Those are the basic rights of a child to grow well. Children on the street lack a lot of things, and one of those is to be protected from abuse on the street. And therefore, we need to make sure that those children are protected. A lot of the teenagers, adolescent girls and boys, are predisposed to risky behavior. Most of them are compelled to do some of the adult roles. They're involved in sexual acts. Some of them end up being married inappropriately. Some of them are selling scrap and bottles. There's casual labor and vending. There's informal employment where they're not paid properly. Of course, they end up begging and stealing food or pickpocketing because they're in need of food at that point in time. And of course, others end up taking drugs so that they don't feel the hunger pains or they don't feel the cold at night when they have to sleep. So to reduce the prevalence and predicament of children in children's situations, there is need to holistically address pull and push factors. Addressing high levels of poverty in vulnerable households that incapacitate their ability to provide basic needs, and high levels of violence against children. Ignore the things that push them. And therefore we need to make sure that those are taken care of. Other factors that exacerbate the violence and discrimination and inability of children in street situations are that they cannot access social services. And we talked about they can't access medical care, they can't access education, they cannot even access some of these services. Because sometimes when they come with their careers and sleep in front of the shop, they are beaten up. If they are found sleeping, then we're told the police or people in security beat them up. And some of them are sexually abused by some of the adults that we see. Some of the children in our slum areas are sold into sexual, commercial sex, where you find that men are going into a certain part and having sex with them and coming out. Shame on them for that. So therefore, there is need to critically look at aspects. We have asked for two major aspects, but with different components at the end. We need to prioritize registration of children in street situations. These ensure that obstacles that hinder them from being issued national identification and other essential documents are removed. There is need for legal identification. We know that children in school were registered for identification, but these children who are not in school, are not at home, have not been registered, and therefore they are sent and they ask for medication because they are sick, they are chased away and treated like thieves or people who are not children, and that needs to change. They need to access justice. Many of them are arrested, they're put in prisons, or they're put in cells with adults. First of all, they need to be able to be separated from adults. They're also in court not given legal aid. Uganda needs to be able to give the children legal aid where they are defended and not taken as guilty. You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but the children on the street are taken as guilty and there's nobody to prove them innocent. So they need to be given legal aid so that they can be represented well and given justice in such situations in the court places. We do know that most of them don't need to be taken to camp register. Their cases can be dealt with quickly and sent back home. They can be put under community health, community services, where they can do some of the punishments that are equal to what they have done. It is pickpocketing. You don't need to be put in remand home where you're going to learn worse situations that will bring you back on the street anyway. So their cases need to be looked at quickly. So we are requesting NIRA and Ministry of Gender to please look through the National Children's Authority to make sure that children are invisible people and they are given the services they need. We need to prioritize child protection. We do know that they are children, and yet when they are found on the street, they are treated as adults. They are beaten. Of course, they are dragged into the vans or the trucks for the police and taken to police. They need to make sure that the Child Protection Unit, Auntie Maureen is here, is in charge, and they know how to treat the children well, and they're able to be taken care of. I'm not saying that we handle them with kid gloves. We know that some of them have become tough and they have become thieves because of necessity. But if they're handled well, then neutralization is not needed and they don't have to fight back because they are handled well and they can be rehabilitated and saved from a life of criminal activity if they are given the proper rehabilitation. We need to make sure that the police or security organs that beat them on the street should stop, and it should be a criminal act to beat children on the street because they are children. And they can guide them and lead them to the police if necessary, where, of course, as we say, they get legal aid to be presented so they're able to be protected in the right way. We do know that roundups have happened, and for us, we choose to call them rescue situations because these children have got to go off the street. We don't want to encourage them to be on the street. We know that KCCA used to use force to take these children off the street. And slowly we're working together to make sure that they are rescuing these children with care, and they're including the civil society organizations who are ready to take them on and rehabilitate them and resettle them back into their homes. So there is need for us as the law enforcement, the Ministry of Gender, the Children's Authority, to make sure that these situations are dealt with well. There's childcare institutions that are ready to do counseling, rehabilitation, even take these children to school in order for them to not be on the street. We do know that there are difficulties in working with children from Karamoja, where there is a lot of political issues, and that needs to be removed. Because we do know that, yes, Karamoja, so we're not chasing them away from Kampala, we're just taking them off the street in the begging situations they are in. So as they remove those, as they deal with the roundups in a good way, then we need to make sure that the government organs are working with childcare institutions to make sure that children are handled well. We are ready to train these enforcement security to handle children in the right way so that they are not hurt and their basic rights are not abused. Those are our asks. We do ask that Ministry of Gender collaborates with Ministry of Education, the services they need, both health and education. And if you work in isolation, that won't happen. But we want to work together with those ministries and children and the civil society organizations to engage and see where children can be looked after better. Therefore, we are asking for access to services for children in street situations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Executive Director of Crane, for your remarks. Now, people online, I am looking at you and I do want to ensure that you're participating and also your issues are, we are able to also raise and show that you're with us. So I have my laptop here and I'm watching, and I will get to some of the messages that you've written for me to share with each and every one. Now, to just mention a few that come to my mind very quickly. First of all, to our police. After hearing all the cries and all that, they have done something. They have come up with the diversion guidelines. So let us appreciate the police for the diversion guidelines. That was a way to ensure that the police do not take the children always to prison, but they look for other ways to treat them. We only pray that we can fast track its training to all the officers so they know. Because it's one thing that it was launched last year, but I don't think all officers are aware and understand what it means. So we only pray that you provide for finances and all officers understand the diversion guidelines and actually practice the diversion guidelines. We move away from what they know Uganda as having very good laws and policies, but very poor at implementation. Secondly, Ministry of Gender, we appreciate that you go and talk and you ask for money for specifically this issue. We ask that you don't stop asking for that money from Parliament and from Finance. Let's continue asking for that money, and let's also be very good at accounting, accountability for that money and allocation of that the money that we pour on the streets. And we're happy. The last 2-3 years, KCCA has not been mentioned as the people who are violating children, but rather are having a safer way of rescuing children and working with the CSOs because they don't have the places, but they work with CSOs that are in this place to ensure that the children are placed in rehabilitation center. Thumbs up, because during COVID, KCCA led and accommodated 200 children in an isolation center, Nachivubo Blue, and it was one of the biggest successful things government had ever done. Let's appreciate KCCA for taking lead. And because of that, other places, I was told Jinja, Mbale, and was it Godfrey, Lira also? Mbale took also the same league, and they worked with the CSOs and children. So thank you, KCCA, for taking lead in that. Parliament having this discussion on the floor. These over 35 children need that voice. For 2 years, every International Day we used to have, made easier for Ministry of Gender to secure the little money they got. And we want them to continue until Ministry of Gender gets up. We want a permanent budget until we deal with this issue and ensure that every child is protected. But we want more, but they have done something. Let's appreciate government. There's a message from Alfred here. Inclusion accepted by the minister. If it is accepted by the minister, then the form for details about the children. Remember the details, because children have been far away from their homes, and you know those details. They say your mother's name, your father's name, but they don't know. They left their home a long time ago. So how do we accommodate all of that? That is what Alfred is raising online. For those of us who are here, let's get ready. We are now going to the next agenda of our program, which is engagement with government officials that are around, and we'll be receiving feedback from us who are here. As I continue to just highlight a few of the things that are here. At Agape, they are very happy. Leah brings out from their parents better care from their parents. Do send us point. Bamtete, please. Okay. Bamtete is taking is going to be getting for us the key, accepting the way forward. So can I ask Jessica? Is Jessica here? To please help move with the mic. Again, because of COVID, we don't want very many people holding the mic. Jessica or somebody else? Okay, so now it is time for us to respond. We're going to start with government officials here. I don't know if any of them wants to start off. You've heard what the children have said. You've received their message. Do you have any comment? Do you want to make any give any feedback, any encouragement, any way forward, you can also suggest. I don't know who we should start with. Do we start with our mother, Ministry of Gender? Okay, so at the back there, which Ministry of Gender would come to the front? If you could come here so that the people online can see. Because
I was also requested to talk about some activities we are undertaking as a ministry. And, most important is we can say that the government of Uganda recognizes child labor as a major challenge to sustainable development. As part under the Ministry of Gender, mainly in charge of child labor. And the child labor constitutes a gross violation of children's fundamental rights, as it is exploitative and detrimental to the physical, emotional, and mental well-being of the children. And the government has tried, as part of the activities, to child labor. We have a number of conventions, ILO conventions, where we have the mainland program. We have domesticated them through a number of laws, and one of them we undertaking the National Action Plan on the elimination of child labor. And it has been one of the key issues that has been a gap in implementation of activities. I was requested to say something about it. The National Action Plan on the elimination of child labor addresses the problem of child labor in Uganda. Uganda remains not gender, and we had the map, what we in fact we call it the map. We had the one for 2013, that expired in 2016 to 2017. So the first map expired in July 2017, and we came up with another thing, which deals with the achievements and challenges during the implementation of the previous map. And the goal of the map is to reduce the incidence of all forms of child labor in households, community health, but now we are in the process. The ministry, the lead ministry, like I said, is the Ministry of Gender, and the child labor, the map will be implemented by the National Child Labor Steering Committee, where we have committees at the district, sub-county, and we also have the inter-committee coordination meeting. And currently, the steering committee is not active. We reconstituted the committee. We gave it a new terms of reference, and we have sent out to the MDA, the ministries, departments. We hired a consultant, we reviewed the document, we held a conceptual meeting, we held the necessary consultations, and I can talk now that officially that the map will be launched on 1st May 2021. That is the International Database Celebration. So, and more to that, we are also in high gear of preparing for World Day Against Child Labor. We know it's the 3rd of June, and we are going to begin our meetings, and we hope we shall be working together in order. We also have, like you know, 2021, we have a UN resolution that declared 2021 as the year for action pledges. And I hope members, all of them are following. We submitted our action pledges, and the ministry submitted the completion of the action plan as our action pledge. Hope National Council has also submitted, and the members. So briefly, that is what I can say currently what we are undertaking.
Thank you very much. I wanted you to add one other key document whenever you're looking at issues of child labor. United Nations Committee on the Rights of Children number 21 or children number 21 by the UNCRC. Just to add into your other documents, whenever you're making reference and plans, it would be another key comment, especially for this current situation we're in. You're meeting with.
Yeah, point noted.
Thank you. I think CSOs, that is a big takeaway for us because that's what we have been trying to ask.
Thank you very much. I also add my voice in thanking Mr. Kalanda for giving us the updates regarding the milestones made by the government in line with this continuing child protection. I would either call it fortunate or unfortunately, as children raise their concerns. I got here some few communications on my online here concerning the requests made. One, maybe I begin with the situation of rescuing children, withdrawing children from the streets. There have been concerns, and we get calls from the communities here within the urban setup, whereby children who are living on the streets have become a big problem in terms of, one, security. We have some specific areas, maybe even participants might raise this on, whereby children go pickpocketing, and it is becoming a bit uncomfortable to the public. I don't know whether we can look at it in terms of short term and long term, but I'm still happy that children here really said before us all that they really want to go back to school. They wouldn't be comfortable with keeping on the streets. So I do not know, because this is an opportunity for us here to comment, to raise such issues. As the authority, we definitely believe in having children because we get complaints that authority, because we are not an implementing agency. We are not. We monitor, that's oversight provisions, So what do we do? Are we not doing enough? How can we help? Such concerns out there. As Faith made it clear here that really now the civil society is part and parcel of like such activities with KCC, and I'm aware with the team. But what do we do? Because I tried to explain that there are efforts being made, but I wanted to put it out there because efforts are there. But are they not enough? What's not happening? Because to us, we ensure that there are provisions made and addressed and action is taken. So may I really, through this August forum, call upon you to raise these issues? I don't know whether I'm clear.
Yes, you are very clear. We have some people online. So those online, the NCA Executive Director is asking us to give clear way forward on how we can get the children off the street. Please don't forget your key role. Zaina, do you want to be one of the first people to respond? How can we do that? You are the one who has worked with at getting children off the street. How do we do it? The question was, how do we effect the issue of getting rescuing children off the street, and so that they are not permanently looking at the streets as their home? Okay.
That was one, because I've been getting those concerns. We've been getting those concerns, people complaining that children on the streets, they sort of, attack, visitors who have even foreign, people around, like pioneer, rather the malls, that those such of people, whereby, So the message here is for the minister, and I wouldn't want to the MP, but someone raising a concern that identification would maybe need to be done from schools or right in the communities. You sent a message here that, no, can't this be made, in the formal structures? I still wanted us to maybe, we can talk about it, but this one I will not answer because I'm going to take it to the minister direct. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator, and thank you so much, Deputy Director NCA. I would like to attempt to respond to the issue raised by the director, Mr. Martin Kisa, on the risk to work and read. The beauty is all of us we do recognize the fact that these children are not supposed to be in the streets. As earlier echoed by Damon, I always say that our children, the streets don't give back to children. What can we do? We can't do it alone as government. We need to work closely with our like-minded partners, the CSOs. The beauty is, as KCCA, we've tried our part. We've tried to work closely with the partners under CRANE, which is an umbrella for the organizations that work with children at risk. And we need to do it in a coordinated manner. I would like to reflect on the experience we had in April, where everyone was locked up in their beds, and then we had a category of people that were not locked up. For example, the street-connected children, and we got voices from the children, voices from the community leaders, and I think the strategy that we used, if we can redefine it and reduce sustainably, we can reduce the number. We might not completely rescue every student we did in April, after the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. I think it's something that we can redefine, and it's something that we can score, because we have some success stories. Although some people say children don't come to the street, but I always tell them my response is always it means I get 100, and then one of them is integrated back in the community. That is a score. Because in all of efforts we have challenges, there are things. But I think if we do a redefined strategy and carry on what we did in April, the voluntary rescue, working closely with our partners, I think we can be able to reduce the number. Thank you very much.
And just to mention that needs financing. It is not free of charge. And also space. Because we had a lot of space, we were able to rescue many children. Yes, Afande John.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, I'm the security manager of Ashtamur. You may wonder how I'm connected to matters related to street kids. Of course, you being the security personnel, when you follow up some issues, definitely that is also a source of insecurity. I got picked interest in these children, of course, after getting so many complaints. These people suffer at the hands of these children. They all fake my office, reporting they have taken my laptop, my phone, worth 4 million. But of course, I have no answer. Remember, it is outside my jurisdiction. Would also involve police, of course, running after them, that's no solution. Today they are not there, tomorrow they are there. Run to KCCA, they are also frustrated. Running around, you can imagine how I later connected to Mr. Martin, because it is a total mess, it's an embarrassment to the country. That place we received, if you, he's a country diplomat, I've lost my laptop. You have no answer. And this is a person who says a lot of work, a lot of information has disappeared. You people, what are you doing here? You know, it's bringing joy. I have nothing to do. Of course, one time I also became a victim of these guys. You know, one of them can engage you. Uncle, back up here. Then I was, of course, monitoring this one. I was entering the gate. This one is engaging me. I'm monitoring a colleague opening my behind door. Because I have put a central lock here. I was monitoring. But engaging me so that this one can have a chance of opening the door. When you are not sensitive, at least most foreigners who don't know this situation come to them and talk. Then one said, no, my mom died, my father beat up my mother, and she died. Then my father also died of AIDS. You can imagine faking a lie. Then I picked interest. I called this boy. He said, do you have any relative? No, one is Kasari, what's money, waffle. Then I said, let me pick this boy, take him to my home, there is food nearby, always whatever you want, the kabo, takataka. 3 months, the boy ran away, stole money from my mom. Came back. Now these other colleagues were laughing at me. And so I told me, the father was there, is a welder. This one is welding machine. So you can imagine such situation. So the police comes back, tells them there is no access to drugs from the other side. Tafuna wakachi, ka drug. Umere wengi meitenga sa. Then the class brought the boy to run back after seeing money from the old building. So you can imagine, most of us we are neighboring ghetto. There is another common business. Masks. These guys are as if they are selling masks. Of course, even stealing, vandalizing people's cars. Others are, of course, when I'm used to them, I talk to them, they are not used to me, they run away. But of course, some of them, I approached one lady. I said, why don't you control your children? Because she has about like 6 boys and girls. They are almost, the bigger one is this side. They told me, said, abana bazali to spirit one, big lady, 40 years, 10 years, abana bazali to one, they discuss as if we are saying to Kabaragara. You see the Kabaragara is dry. It's an exhibit. The whole day, a week. Then he throws it away. The mom gives her another 12 to go back and cover up. This guy is as if he's. So even these other beggars, the big men, because that's why I've been going even to KCCA. These guys, the big men, I say, who are there, they are selling beans and those things in the hands, cow. Of course, also there are thieves. I know. There are thieves, but they are always waiting. They are bothering people in their car windows. So it is an embarrassing situation. I'm telling you to be sincere. Because I was even writing this to say, come and do reconnaissance. If you are to act, maybe fight these big ones. But of course, chasing these kids or what? When they are my friends, I talk to them, but I have no answer. Because I can no longer now take them home. They might even kill my mom. I attempted one. Because he lied to me, my dad died, and mother, I don't have an uncle and what? I said, you are now my son. He sees me, runs away. I have nothing to do. Really, I need your rescue. That's how I now end up paying in this litigation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Very interesting conversation. And you ask almost the same question that the executive director asks.
How do we deal with the people who are stealing? Now, Simani Adam oba mwagala kwogerako. Can we hear from the and just to announce everyone, if you're online and everything, and those who are here, NCA is the authority for the children. Therefore, NCA is a safe space for the children. So the children can freely talk. You are safe. Okay? Yeah. So feel free. NCA is protecting you. What I want to say is, not all the people on the street are thieves, and sometimes he says many problems, like when you go and look for money, you get some little money and you keep it. When you're sleeping, some old people and other people outside, they come and take your money. If you try to tell them to get back your money, they beat you. And for me, what I want to say is, for me, I finished my P7 this year. Okay, I finished my P7. I was studying in Ontario. It's currently a primary school, Professor. And at my home, I really don't want to go back home because of the reasons I'm going to tell you. At my home, my mom left us when we were still young, and we remained with our dad. We are friends. And I'm the firstborn, but my dad got another wife, and that wife was not good to us. And one day, my dad went to field for 1 year. He left us with our stepmother. We lived with our stepmother for that year, but he beat us. And I decided to go. And my dad came asked, where is Adam? I was married, and I decided to come in the streets of Kampala. But what I want to communicate to you, I was there with my friend Swabul. He told me also he wants to go to school also and remain studying. I will be happy to hearing from you, as they told us that this is our mother who should tell everything what we need. And most of the things I have told you, there is nothing that I'm lying, nothing. And I'll be happy to hear it from you. So, thank you. Adam, before you hand over the mic, let me ask. When did you say you finished P7 this year? This come for 2 weeks. You say you have just come to the States. Yes. Okay. So he has finished P7, but the situation at home, again, home is unfavorable for him, and he has resorted to the streets. When will the streets, why will the person find the streets safer than at home? Something is not happening right. Thank you, Adam. And I know that one of the organizations here will talk with you and will give you the necessary support. Before I go to Commissioner Swabu, do you want to say something? This is now the real on.
Another guest of honor.
Okay. Let's finish with these ones. Then we have commissioner. Then we come to the other children.
Nze nave waffe kooti nali mbeera ne kojja wange yagye nakulira bazadde bange baafa bonna tebaliiwo era bwe nakulira kojja wange nangamba nti bazadde bange baafa nemanya nti kati saba yatekwasa Katonda asobole okukuma mbeere nga ndi mulamu sobole okufuna obulamu osobole okuyiiya nange mbeere nga nkyali mulamu mu nsi muno kati kojja wange n'abeera nga ngobaganyambamu nze nakulira wakojja sina bye nali mmanyi sina nemu gye nalabako ku bantu bange kati naŋŋamba bwebalaga ekitundu bakiika kituusa nsimanya ali ebibanja bya kitaala nze nga sibitegeera kati nga bwebaŋŋamba ebyo ebigamba ngobaganya yagala nimba erinnya nga simanyiiyo nze nange nneviiramu nga wiiki ng'omwezi mulamba nenzija ne Kampala embeera ku sitiiti kati badde mbeera ngaawo ku sitiiti embeera ya ku sitiiti kunsa bulungi tukufuna kyakulya ekyokunywa kitutawaanya awo okusula osula mu kadeeya naye nze sirina buzibu tewali antawaanya teri mwana yatakyabona ekibeewo nze sijja kwogera kikwata ku bulamu bwange oba ekiri mu musaayi gwange nze gwenaabira nazaalibwa n'obulwadde bwa HIV era ndi ku ddagala bagala eyo ndifunira kooti gyenveera n'ebeera n'ebinene naye ate abasawo baŋŋamba neemenya banewandiika enamba zaabwe ku kaadi yange gyenzifunirako ne baŋŋamba mbu nzitwale ku ddwaliro byonna byonna nga mmanyi nti ndwala oba ndi Kampala nzitwale oba Mulago oba wa babakubire boogere nabo abasawo beeno abeeri bo bajja baba basooka nga bajja beera nga bantu ddagala nembagamba tewali buzibu nange nejje ne Kampala nensalawo nange nze naate embeera tetuyitamu sigunga tokatabyona nze gemulabira ngo sinya ndagala sinya sigala sinya amafuta amafuta go sigagalirako ddala era omuntu aganya mbasagala nsemberera obulamu bwange bwona ate n'abagatunda tokatabyona abagatunda alimutwalyawo nga kiro tulyawo teri mu byaffe mudembe lyaffe niwajja aba LDU bwe bajja ne basanga omukazi ng'atunda amafuta ne bagenda kunze nga manyi nti abagenda mukwata bamutwale bamuvunaana olw'okutunza abaana amafuta gabamazeko emirembe abantu tebakyayagala abaana basembya tuvaawo bayita naye ate aba LDU bwe bajja ekyaneewuunyisa bwe bajja bansaba busaba ki obagiyita obambuki nguzi nguzi n'abawa sente ne bagamba ne bagenda neneewuunya nyo neŋŋamba yiye buli lwagamba gavumenti eyamba biki ekyo nenkyogera mutima gwange nekinsigalamu nesirikirira era abaana awo olumunteero bagamba abaana bolaba asooka amakola omutwalo nze nenva nenfuna 10 bwema nga ndi ekyokulya kyange nga kirungi ye ali ku mafuta najja nansaba ekyokulya kibanga yafunye omutwalo gona nagunya mama nalaba nze agaganywa ndi kukyakulya ndya nfiirira lubuto lwange esikukulya amafuta naye najja nga ayagala ekyokulya nemugamba nti gwe mulyawo mukola bukozi sente muzinya bunye mafuta naye ensaba y'okulya mwagala ebyabanamu kiki temulina amagezi ayagala kukuba bikondi nga muviira buviizi naye embeera yakusitotuyita tetuyisa bulungi empewo sokajageranga tebanzikiriza mu mpewo era kubanti nze embeera nange embeera ejjagenda nayo naye mbadde nsaba omuntu yena asobola okunyamba ate n'ekirala ebyo nanga bize ebbali ekiraga byona njagala okusoma ekyo kiri mbulamu bwange kikyankawaanya nnyo nnyingi kubanza okumala nalina jjajja wange azaala anti wa mama wange ye yali ansomesa yali akakunya mukyakusatu naafa buli museera yamu naye nawummula yeyafa nze mulaba kati yali akakunya mukyakusatu kojja wange nansomya yali akatusa mu makati eyekyanga ng'alinayo wa senior 6 ne wa senior 4 n'agamba naye n'abapulaimari kati nze nkukolera enti nze tesigenda zisoba n'omugamba ebingi nawe nenyobamu nange nemumaani muta ngaawa esaawa yananja tunanyongerayo maaso nange tumalanga sitotungira mu makkati kimankyawolayo katundu era nze mbadde ngamba omuntu atugala nze kyokiddamu kubanga okusoma nina emyaka 16 kuba okusoma waliwo gwogamba nti addeyo okusomero tasoma asoma mwenamwena muli wano muli bazadde baffe ate era nebaza ebyo ebitongole ebiddeene byegatta okusoma kwenjagala yange naye mbadde nsaba wabusobola okuyambako ekyo ne gavumenti ekuyamba abatunda amafuta n'agaja mayiro nga meka nagalete negambala mu bidomola nebagatunda wa yonna 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 ebyo si bintu byemuviira ate nebitereera lwamafuta ago kubanga siganywa ate boga bagamanyire emisayi gyabwe baba taganyodde afa wala omwana yagalekaawo mukisomi bamuyita nyanzi yali atasina okutambula ng'agaddire naye amafuta yagavaako wiiki ng'emu n'afa amafuta gali gamanyiridde emisayi era kwegakolera era nga naye nze kyembadde nsaba wamanzi asobole okunyamba nsoma n'emikono gyange kubona omunaku tuli awamu tukola kyaki fezuguluku ebyo ebyamafuta tuyinza lubuto lwaffe era banaye mbadde nsaba asobole okuyamba ne pulezidenti gyali asobole okuyamba era nsaba nebino bimutuukeko ne gavumenti ne baminisitazi mwena mutuyambe banaye kama ababeera omukisa
webale nnyo webale ddala
naniriza nnyo okugamba nti oli maama waffe afande era ekyo ekintu nkyaniriza nnyo kubanga sirina abazadde bampulira nti oyo maama wange kinsanyusa nnyo mu bulamu bwange.
Amina. I think you're hearing the reality of the children on the streets and you hear their heart. Let's hear from Commissioner. That's the reality on the streets. Not all of them are what people have branded them to be. We'll hear from the Commissioner of Police and then we'll go to the other children. And unfortunately, time is not in our favor. We will need to begin to wind down.
Good afternoon to everyone. It's not an easy job. And policing doesn't only apply to the security forces, but it applies to all the stakeholders, the likes of officials that are here, for having supported police when it comes to rescuing and responding to the issues that do affect children on the streets. We've had so many stories of these children. Once they are arrested and brought to police stations, in most cases, children are arrested because of the many cases that are being reported at police stations. The thefts are quite many. Children are being used by others to commit crimes, so it becomes a security issue. But now when you go to arrest, one recommendation is to have at least a training for police officers. With the child and family protection officers, to an extent, we are enlightened. But remember, we are not the ones who go and affect lives in most cases, because we are at the receiving end. So there needs to be a training for all police officers, especially those in general duties. Then the ones that you see in the field force uniform, the one that is the first patches. Then we can also train with our sister organizations, the LBs, because they do work with us, so that they are able to understand who a child is and what rights that child has, so that we can streamline our methods of operation and see how to take these children off the streets. But it doesn't stop at that. We have to bring in the parents, the guardians, the teachers, everybody on board. We've always worked with KCCA, but when you arrest, then taking care becomes an issue. But also KCCA doesn't have that budget. Equally, police doesn't have that budget. So we need to have other stakeholders on board. We need to make sure that the parents and the guardians in their families do their part. Because if they don't do their part, then issues are going to be spilling out to police every other time. Yet ours is law enforcement. Then two, we also need to create a child-friendly environment at police stations to allow them to come and report to us. For example, if Adam was empowered at that time, instead of running to streets, probably would have come to police so that we can intervene and see what they were supposed to do. And then we talk to the parents, guide them on what is Because for how long are these actors going to support them if the parents are running out with the responsibility? But we also need to raise awareness to the children on the streets as well. We get so many cases where they violate the rights of their fellow children. They threaten them not to report, but even when they come at police stations, at times they don't give you the whole information. That's why they keep on giving you false information. By the time you find out that they've been threatened. But they also need to know there are laws that govern this country. One, they need not to commit crimes. But for those of them that have committed crimes, we shall go ahead and arrest and take. That's why we have the children diversion guidelines in place to cater for those who commit minor offences, so that we do not create a condition in the justice system. But then we have to work backwards with the LCs, religious leaders, probation officers, and then the parents who are very key in this. So that's why I say that all of us as stakeholders, we need to know our role. And then, for us as security officers, we need to have periodic meetings with the likes of NCA, UCRNA, KCCA, Ministry of Gender, so that we can, in isolation, we may not know how to go about it. At first, we have security challenges. We look at this issue from a security point of view. But then KCCA may look at it from maybe either a human rights issue, and then the other one will also look at it from a human security point of view. I think those are some of the issues that we need to work on. Then Swaburu, bakugambye nze maama wamwe. Ekinfuula maama wamwe olw'okuba nti nze nkulira ofisi ekala ensonga z'abaana. Weewaawo nange ndiki ndi muzadde mbalumirira kuba nange erina abaana. Naye kye ŋŋamba, poliisi teyinza kubamalira bizibu byonna ng'eri yekka. Y'ensonga lwaki twagala ebitongole ebirala bye twegatira. Abazadde bamanye ogwabwe, abakesisiye nabo bakole ogwabwe, n'ebitongole ebirala. So tusobole okukwatira awamu. Kuba embeera bwe tatebeeke ewaka gye mulina okubeera. Definitely mujja kozesa lapsus ate nga si kye kisinga obulungi. Kati n'olwekyo abeesi kwebaza ebitongole ebirimu n'obulimu.
Thank you very much. Something very key that Afande Maureen mentioned, that who actually receives these children and actually allows them to sleep where he can protect them. So the children live wherever they're going and they feel safer sleeping at his police station around there, and he's safer because he's able to monitor them and he's able to ensure that they are not committing crimes. So he's not able to rescue them, but in his capacity to offer protection, they are at his place. And he talks to them, he gives counsel to them. I have forgotten his name, but I don't know if there is anyone. Samuel, Osi, but I think it is Namayumba, Namayira, the bus park. I think that the OC there does a fantastic job. And we're asking, if OCs were like that, that's what we're saying. The children would find it safer to go there. It's not a police station where the children feel safe to go to. Yeah? Only police station. Let's listen to our children combine, and after that, we will now be doing our own one because our time is fast paced. It's way fast paced. So let's listen to our children, and then we will conclude the web one. Dr. Yasin the web one, and he will give us the key web one, and we accept all of that. Please go ahead. Let us know your name. And,
my name is going to streets. My point is that
they should, the major point me I'm going on this is they better go to the parents, because the parents are the major cause of children to go to streets. They should talk to them, all the guardians. If possible, if they don't have like school fees for paying for them, at least they should at least give advice and provide jobs for them, so that the number of children going to street should be reduced. That was my point.
Thank you very much. Another child saying the problem is starting from the families, the home. Adam said he left because of the problems at home. Swabul said home was not okay. He had to come and look for education. Again, our friend Gift is saying, I want to, I have been reminded that NC Executive Director, these are the ones who we came for. Children from African Hearts who are joining us from where? Chisenyi? From Chisenyi, we can pin them on and we hear what the children are saying. This will be our last as we give Geoffrey a chance to get his way forward key points together. And those who are on media, we request you as you please remember to protect our children. Sure. Ready for you. We can hear you. Please go ahead. Go ahead, Emmanuel.
Yes.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard the children. Those are the ones who are there. And then you take them and bring them back to the streets. Anyway, that's their views, those are their opinions. There was a question that Executive Director asked, and then also Afande had also raised about the children. And I think Afande, Commissioner Maureen gave the answer to that question. There are different categories of children, and when you're dealing with them, you deal with them differently. There are children who are like Adam and Swabul, who want to get off. Usually these are the easiest children for us to deal with. Adam, who has spent only 2 weeks, and I'm requesting Joshua and which other organization here? Emily Sada, please. Adam wants to get off the streets. It's only 2 weeks. I request us to please work hard at getting these two off the street after today. But just to answer your question, these are very easy to get off because they are willing and they have not been intoxicated. You see, Swabul is saying that he doesn't want drugs. yet the one who made the hat was exposed to drugs. When you have drugs and you take them in, Swabula has told you when you're withdrawing, they may end up dying because of the withdrawal syndrome. That needs another kind of attention. They need to be rehabilitated. And as we very well know, as you handle children, you handle children, each individual children as they are, because their needs vary. The ones that have been exposed to drugs need support, rehabilitation from the drugs. That will be more expensive. The ones who are like Adam and have spent only 2 weeks, you will find it very easy because he has not been exposed to too much. And then you have those, as Afanda Morin said, who have been recruited into gangs, who have been commissioned to go and carry out those stealing. Many of those children who carry out the stealing are not carrying it out because of themselves, but they have been sent to do it. And all these need to be handled differently. But we should not drink. And besides, even at home, our children misbehave. These ones are only misbehaving in a different way. Let us still find a way of how to reach out to them and know what their need is. And then we can be able to take people to school. They don't want to go home, especially if they're above 16, 17, they may not go back home. And they've been on the streets for over 5 years. They will not go back home. We need to provide the alternatives, which government has already put there, of independent living. But for them to thrive in independent living, they need the necessary support. And that is also a different category. There are others who will go back into the formal education. We also need to provide for that. So those are the key things. And before I invite you to come back to close, allow me to invite Geoffrey to give us the overview of the way forward, and we agree on that. Then I invite you at once to close. And as Geoffrey comes, NCA Director, please allow me to recognize the following organizations that have ensured that this conversation was successful. We have Dwelling Places. We'll clap at the end. We have Dwelling Places. We have SASCO, which is Safe Street Children Uganda, Youth Sport Uganda, Riforak, CRO Ginger, Bridge Builders, Emily Sada, Agape World Ministries. And Agape, we have seen your messages. There's a message to police from Agape. They are saying, police, we need safe spaces at the police station. That is what Agape is saying. Havana Ministries, they also gave a cash contribution. Kaida, that is Kawepe Youth Development Association. AYDF, African Hearts Community Organization. Self International, that is in Ginger. Uganda Child Rights NGO Network, the Crane Network, and lastly, the National Children's Authority. All these are the organizations that have made this day successful. Not forgetting our children who have accepted to come today. All of us have made this day successful. Geoffrey, 3 minutes.
Okay, these are the emerging issues I've managed to capture from the discussion that we had. One was appreciation of government for some of its effort in making sure they're addressing the phenomenon. The appreciation of the fact that we now have policy guidelines in place, the fact that the Ministry of Gender has committed some funds to facilitate the rescue of children, to rescue and rehabilitate children's situations, and was definitely demonstrated in the intervention that involved about 200 children that were removed from the streets during the COVID pandemic. But the other issue, the person on the computer, please get down. The Ministry of Gender, there is need to, the Ministry of Gender should appreciate the guidance provided by General Comment number 21 as it programs for child labor issues. And I'm actually down there. You will see a highlight somewhere, so they didn't have the opportunity to use this platform. If we could quickly just edit the NPA right now as it is from the length of that general comment. For instance, I'm suspicious the current NPA document should be calling children street. That alone could just be changed to children's. We could just get a couple of us here. We could even do it by close of business tomorrow and give you back the balance. So there is also need to strengthen coordinated partnership with CSO members to rescue children in situation, adopting the model that cases during this commemoration are engaged about 20 of those children who have successfully been rehabilitated in Mbale. But then there is need for have a discussion on how to make the resources. The Ministry of Gender should account for appropriation. The sentiment seems to be that yes, we know those resources were committed, which is good, but have they actually gone to do what they were intended to do? So there may be need for discussion at a particular opportunity with the Ministry of Gender regarding that. So there is need to train police officers on child protection, particularly those under the general duties section who regularly enforce the laws. And that training should also include the sister security agencies like LDUs. A child-friendly environment for children. One of these gets survived. That's a very good one. This young man. Then they need to sensitize children themselves who are in street situations and not to abuse their colleagues, but on police diversion guidelines if we are to gain traction. Then stakeholders, please go down the computer. Stakeholders, including police, the Ministry of Gender, KCCA, added there nearer because the IG, I think, will be critical. And CSOs, among others, should establish a platform where we share challenges and good practices. For instance, there's a child rights model of programming for these children in situations like police and not necessarily tend to adopt the repressive approach. CSOs somehow adopt the welfare approach, but the most commendable approach is the child rights approach. So we need to have this conversation where we're reading from the same page. And finally, number 10, the man on the computer. The man on the computer, get me back where we were. Number 10 is what I already re-echoed. We need to be given the opportunity to edit the NPA from the perspective of the general public. On aspect number 9, and I propose we're going to have a letter highlighting these issues that have emerged here, the issues that were presented by the DP Crane Network, to address it to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Gender, and that will be accompanied by the letter from the children. But we need to have a starting a group, a small technical group that will move this agenda forward. Some of the issues I leave that to you as we come up with maybe that. I would be glad to see, for instance, Commissioner, the MCA, Executive Director, CSO, KCC, having that mini discussion with the peers so that we agree how to push these issues.
We are going to communicate to the minister. Our goal is to the minister gives instruction to the PS. I hope that's a corrective. Just before I hand over, because after the big drum speaks, no one else should talk, and I'll ask you to close the meeting. The one thing that we have not discussed that is very key for access to service, we know we are in the era of no national ID, no access to key
key services, including health now, including even when you go to police, they'll ask you what is your NIN number. When you go to passport, what is your NIN number? Mr. Chairman, if we do not deal with this issue, you are going to have stateless children in your country. Because remember, the birth certificate, the national ID is the key now document to identify a citizen in this country. If we do not deal with this issue, you're going to have over 35,000 stateless children.
Let me bring it to your attention. That is why it is a matter of urgency that we need to discuss this issue and see how these children can have these numbers and are able to access all the services. They too deserve the same service like any other child in Uganda. Thank you very much, and it has been an honor being the moderator for today. I now welcome the NCA Executive Director to give final remarks and close this meeting. All those online, thank you for joining too.
Thank you very much, Comrade Zaman. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we wind up our very successful discussions today in the dialogue, I want once again to really express our gratitude to all of you partners, everybody who has really made this successful. But allow me to reiterate some few issues. I would like to still underscore the issue of children's responsibility, because this is enshrined in the law. Abaana mulina obuvunaanyizibwa, n'olwekyo mpuliddemu nga mwogera nti toyagala nakudda waka, naye lwaki that space bali bazadde bo oba mulina ababalabirira, the next of kin, caretaker, guardian. We have the alternative care framework. Yes. So we need to say that we are still adhere to those provisions by government. So abaana sijja kwagala nzigowa national security kuba nti mulina okwa saagala kuddayo nge njagala oba ngenesomene saagala kudda waka. Ekintu ekyo nsaba mukigye mu mutwe kubanga tubaagala n'ababalabirira babaagala. Ate n'ekirala bw'oba ofunye ekizibu tekyandisitaze oluke mangu ogende mu luguudo, ogende ku nguudo kubanga ku nguudo wabingawo tekikirizibwa. Twagala obulamu bwamwe nga bulungi nnyo, n'olwekyo awo awaka w'obeera kati ng'eyabadde nekoja eyakutawaanya wandigambyeko neighbor omuliraanwa n'omugamba nti waliwo ekintu kino tomulinda ate koja jakukube mugerako ne neighbor awaka awo mu community, oba genda ku LC, genda ku police. Police tekuba abantu, tekutebakuba, police ewuliriza, bw'ogendayo ewuliriza. N'olwekyo nze twagala tubakubira omulanga abaana mulina obuvunaanyizibwa ate temudukira ku nguudo, mulina okulaba nti ekibaawo kyonna mulina nenamba oba ofunye ne chance 116 toll free tekujjako sente oba ofunye chance oba gwambako ku muliraano bajja kuwuliza ekizibu kyolina okusinga okutuuka mangu n'ogenda ku nguudo ate n'obonabonerayo. Ekyokubiri, this one is going on again to what members have agreed upon here, like we need to scale up systems, strengthening and the collaboration networking, because we need each other in this area. Children should gather together, so we cannot work alone as a community or as a government. We need to force partners, the private sector, to deal with that. So that one will be important to us. We must ensure that we scale up this. Enforcement of laws, legislation we have, but why the gap? To me, I believe that we need to do strengthen the enforcement of these provisions. And then within the community, why not really come up with immediate guiding provisions, bylaws, ordinances. We are going around the country and we are working actually closely with the KCCA. Some of these bylaws, ordinances are laid for no reason actually. So we want to ensure that we go even higher and we get to know why are these ordinances. Lastly, a committee pertaining to them. And we've been doing this. Like the authority we have other forum. We have like the Stop Child Partners Forum. We also now really want to ensure that we go beyond this. We have the Disability Forum. So all in all, let us work together to ensure that children get the best services, the services that they deserve. We are working also with the media. The other day we were using maximum information out there so that they influence, they should influence decision. So n'olwekyo abaana tubaagala nnyo naye twagala mubeere bampisa ate musome nga bw'ogambye twagala musome era bwe tugenda kuva wano bajja kuba nga batandika okwogera naawe wamala kyakumeka naye tetwagala budukire ku nguudo waliyo enjaga waliyo ebyo amafuta g'oyogedde waliyo obutasula bulungi okusula ku mufulegi poliisi ebe baagala musome mukiwulira as Damon outlined clearly the partners. I also want to reiterate our participation. It says SASCO Youth Sport Uganda, REFCA, Kaida Kawempe Youth Development Association, AYDF, African Hearts Community Organization, Salve International Ginger, UCRNN, Brain Network, the police. So let's just try to ensure that we scale up efforts in ensuring that we move together and the issues of children in a holistic manner. Once again, in Africa, we are leading, we are the ones having this policy. So it has all the strategies, actions therein, words. I thank you very much for successfully, actively participating in the dialogue, and please partner that we shall ensure that things move forward in the right direction. Thank you very much and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Those who have been with us online, we have had over 20 participants online and they have been with us the whole time. So we appreciate you, those who have been with us online. Those who have watched us on YouTube and Facebook, thank you for watching us. And even the video we showed is going to be on YouTube. Craig will help us ensure that it's on YouTube. But people are asking why was it as were heard. The voices were heard. Okay, so we are through with our event, and we hope that we don't stop this conversation today, like you've said, and we continue to have the conversation. We started with a prayer. It is only good we end with a prayer. After the prayer, I'm going to ask the children and the NCA director to please move to the back there where we can see the big banner. We want to get a good photo of you handing over the report, your letter, and also the CSO handing over also their letter, and a photo with the children, definitely. I am tempted to say with everyone, but I'm conscious on space. So I think let's have with just the children. The rest you understand, it is COVID. Other than that, thank you all for joining us. Those online, thank you for staying with us. Have a lovely week, and let's close with a word of prayer. We have had the boys talk the whole time. Can I ask the only girl representing all the girls on the street to come and lead us in a closing prayer, please? This must be Gabriela. Gabriela, please come and lead us in a closing prayer.
We thank you for this day. We thank you for protecting all the people in this world. We thank you that this time that day has happened. We thank you, God, for everything that has happened today. We just need to pray.
Thank you, Gabriela. Now let's have the children go to the back with the NCA and the ED of Grain.
The NCA logo.
with that International Day at the back. So we don't wear the International Day. Thank you, media team, for a great.
Amanya gange nze Kavini. Nali nonya sente za kusoma naye abazadde bange tibalina sente za kusoma okuntwala ku ssomero nange ningama kangende mu kibuga ngende nyeye nfuna nange nyinza funa sente z'okukolaki z'okwesomesa. Nali njaga ng'okusuubula ebintu kutunda bintu naye nabifuna nitandika kubitunda bizinesi yange nemala neegwa. Nali ntunda masiki esente nzewa nizibula sente abayali nibangu sente zange nibakola ki nibazibba nyebasi nze abaana fiiti bankuba butuuka ekiro nibatujjako byakwebaka itumugamba leeta byaffe n'atukuba ntusula mu mpewo. Nze nandibadde kwetaaga kusoma kufuna sente okuzimba eka baba abagaga bamama na taata bazimbire ekirungi omukanda ebeki bakola ki batunguke abagaga obworo babulugemu. Nze nsaba gavumenti enyambeko kintu kimu. Njagala okusoma n'okukola kunoonya sente mbesaba owaffe.
Abasirikale kati ngaabo bankubako nemala wiiki emu nga simanyi nti wabweru bwewafaanana. Life nayo bwetyo era bwetyo bwentambuzaawo obulamu bwange. Oluusi olidde oluusi tolidde, oluusi okuza akantu ko bakatutte. Tubigamba obulamu bwakujingirira tosobola malako.
Abaana abasinga bayinza olwala ng'ate abakulu tebaliiwo. Sente nga naye mwenyini nyini talinaamu musiko ka sente kyaba tuyambako wakiriko batufunira ebipapula nga kyo kitwala mu ddwaliro okiwaayo nga tebakusaba sente.
Yenze Ramanzani, taata ne maama tebaagala nsome kati nze nange neŋŋamba lwaki tebaagala nsome ate nga sente weeziri nga n'amasomero nte. Nze mbadde mulwadde era leero weninga ateleddemu ate bwe ngenda ku poliisi neŋŋamba nanzoleeyeza ku poliisi bakusamba busambi kati mwana n'obiriyo akawaani batukuba embooko. Byenjagala gavumenti enkolere andiyagala okufunawo embeera nensoma nga n'ekyokulya nfuna newemba omulwadde sobola wali nenfuna nengenda ku ddwaliro ne bampa ku ddagala nemira nange nembeerako ng'omuntu.
Amanya gange nzera esituudi si nnungi nange ndayamu si nnungi kyonga nze njagala soma saagala kubeera ku situiti. Nze njagala nsome saagala kubeeka.
Amanya gange nze Kevin nviira Kyebando bangu be wakanange nenjija ku street. Nze kyenjagala gavumenti etuyambe badde njagala enyambe nzizeyo enjigirize mu byemikono ndenkanike emmotoka.
Amanya agange nze Swaburu. Mbeera gye tubeeramu ku siti tetuyisa bulungi. Ekyokulya kintawaanya, ekyokunywa kintawaanya, aw'okusula nsula mu kadeeya, nsula ku mbalaza z'abantu. Omuntu ali eyo ng'olaba osobola otuyamba. Gavumenti kyenjagala ennyambe. Chance gye mpulira njagala kusoma. Njagala okusoma okwo nkwagalira ddala. Njagala nnyo ekitiibwa ekintu kye bayita obwa looya. Mbwagala nnyo.
Naye kati nga nze kyensaba nsaba gavumenti ennyambe mbeerezeemu n'emisomo gyange. Batujje ku street kale batutwaleko ku zi homes tubeere ku homes nga gye tubeera gye tusomera ng'abaana abalala.
Amanya gange nze Davis nga nyina emyaka 16. Abaana b'oku nguudo balina obuzibu lw'obutafuna we basula nga bano abali abasula ku mbalaza z'oku makubo nga mu bibuga. Poliisi ejja nerowooza oba be babbi be batemula abantu be banyakula ku mantu amasimu naye nga bambi nabo baba banoonya we basula. Poliisi yo eva eri ebakwata bukwasi baba tebalina musango. So nze nsaba gavumenti mutuyambe mukolagane n'ebitongole ebikwataganya ku baana. Abaana bali ku nguudo mubafunire ew'okusula, ebyokulya, okwambala, ebyobujjanjabi, byonna byonna.
I want the government to take me back to school. Like I wish our president take us to school. We start schooling because from the street, not like for the street. Like for me, I don't like a street, but for me, I like to go back to school.
Obulamu era bubi tulina bwetaavu bumala ng'eddagala, emmere, ew'okusula, ebyo ne poliisi ejja netukwata ate nga tetulina batujjawo naye nga tuba tetulina musango gwetukoze. Nsula wano ku street kuba sina wakusula. Kyemanya njagala batufunira ID nga wetuba tugenda mu ddwaliro ne tugiragayo batujjanjaba bujjanjabi.
Many children who live and work on the streets can't access education because they are poor. Their parents cannot afford to pay for school fees, and many times they are forced to work to earn a living. My request is living on the street should not be a barrier to accessing education.